Hi guys, my name is Bill Cohen and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode we're going to be looking at our engine, the 8B92 Detroit that is in this Peterbilt. It's a 1980 Peterbilt, and we got some very revealing details here that are not looking good for this engine. So what we did earlier today is we because we couldn't in the back here, let me shine this back here. There's no way to really bar this engine over on the back here. You really, it's highly not recommended to crank on that, because that's actually the blower drive, and eventually it would turn. But because this engine is so, we don't really know the history of it. We don't know if it'll turn over. Does it move? Does it rotate? Is it locked up? We don't see anything through the sides, so there's no obvious rod through the side, nothing obvious like that. So finally had the opportunity to put a big socket on the crankshaft there. Now this is a right-hand rotation engine, so we had to go in the right direction trying to get it turned, and using this big ratchet and bar on the bottom, and it didn't want to turn at all. Even with all that leverage and put my foot on it and trying to get the engine to turn, it's locked up. So talk with a good friend of mine. He says that well, you best pull the oil pan there and see if you can find anything obvious down below. If not, if everything is good down below, you don't show any signs of spun bearing or anything like that, well, then you go up to the top there and see if you pull the injectors and look down with a borescope, or look in the air boxes, see if there's any rust. Maybe the rings are locked up, rusted up on the cylinder walls. But we didn't get to that point there because we had a pretty good indication that something was wrong in the bottom end. Now, when I first got this truck, I bought this truck from a distance. I just seen pictures of it. I got a pretty decent price for it there, so I was in a position financially to put some money into the truck, but not realizing that this engine is basically not usable. At least not. It's not. This is. Let me put it this way. It's not going to be one of those videos where you put batteries in it there, free up the injectors, and put some fresh fuel in and filters and get it running. That's not the case with this engine. And I've always wondered what was the history of why this truck was off the road. Now this engine is a 1985. I can tell by the VIN number on the engine, the data plate. It's a 1985 engine, but it's in a 1980 Peterbilt cab over. So, but once I got the truck and got underneath looking things around there, there was only, I pulled 6 pan bolts off of it. And before I even pulled the oil pan, I dropped the oil, and there was maybe 2, maybe 3 gallons of oil, if that. But at first, about a half a cup of water came out first, and then maybe 2, maybe 3 gallons of old black oil came out, and that was it. So not a good indication that this was going to be a happy ending. So finally had time to pull the oil pan, and I'm just going to turn this down here for all of you that recognize what all this is. This is how it came off. That right here is the oil pickup. These are the bolts that hold on the main cap, and some other bolts down below. So this oil pan had been pulled off, I guess, when they realized something was wrong with it. But then put everything back in the pan, didn't put everything back together, and just kept everything contained. All right, So why did they have that off? So once I got the pan out of there and got back underneath, let me give you an idea of what they saw. This right here, that is a score journal on the crankshaft. I don't see any actual broken rods or any bluing, anything that got hot, but that bearing definitely got wiped out and it messed up the crankshaft. So this is exactly how I found this engine. I mean, that number 2 main right there, the bolt's still loose. So once they seen that this thing needed a crankshaft, they basically said, yeah, this is too costly. This is more than just a simple, end frame, because that crank has got to come out. If the crank comes out, basically the engine comes out. So, but seeing this truck, get up here, seeing this truck just in the condition of it, knowing that how greasy and all the hoses and all that stuff for being on there for decades and abuse, and this truck was abused. I can tell by the hoses, the oil condition. The truck was simply abused. There's no question about it. Indication, there's evidence that it's been abused. And quite frankly, I'm kind of relieved that the engine's got to come out, because there's a lot of things that's under this cab that is hiding, not intentionally, but there's a lot of hoses, things down there, hoses that are underneath, pinched, things rubbing, just a lot of things that you normally wouldn't see if you're just simply doing an in-frame. Now, I was willing to do an in-frame. It's like, yeah, it's a very simple deal. I mean, you don't even have to pull the blower. You just pull the exhaust manifolds off and pull the heads off and get down below and pull the rod caps off there and knock the cylinders back up, back through. It's time consuming, but it's something that's doable. But knowing just how old the truck is and seeing the condition of the hoses, I mean, just an example like right there. That right there is a water hose that goes to the air compressor. You see, like right there. This thing is really hard, but it's chafing against that stud right there off the top of the fuel filter. Those to me, my years of experience in trucking and in driving a truck, is that this it's a ticking time bomb. I mean, if you were to get this thing running again, without having to do all this, all this work, you still had these little hoses that could be just at the verge of breaking and bursting and going down the road there. All of a sudden you got a water hose going off, or you got a hydraulic line, or you got something, a chafing wire, all of a sudden ground out there, and your truck comes to a stop there because one little wire that you missed or didn't see because you didn't go through everything to fix everything because of its age. These trucks, they through their life cycle, they give and give and give. Right now, this truck, for me, I'm giving it a second life, but I need to take the time and go over every single thing that could potentially come back and bite me, because this is going to be my last truck, believe it or not. Eventually, this is going to be my last truck, and I don't need the headache. Right now, I'm 62 years old here. By the time I get this thing going and spend the next few years driving, I don't want no problems going down the road, pulling into a weigh station there and come to find out this is cracked. But the reason why it was cracked, or you didn't see the crack, is because you didn't go through everything on the truck. You have to do a thorough investigation of everything, or it'll come back and bite you. So, all right, guys, this wasn't meant to be a long video. I just wanted to give you an indication or an idea just now how much we're going to be into this truck. So now the hunt's going to be in to find a running 8B92 that basically, if I have to, I'll do an do an in-frame if it's, you know what I mean. They're just basically do rings and bearings and stuff like that there. But maybe the blower is fine there, but maybe just could use a ring job and and bearings and stuff like that. But the engine would be out. It would be completely out, power wash, clean, and you would make sure that everything was just right. So when you put this thing back in, all these hoses, these belts, these hoses here, if they look questionable at all, replace them. Replace it now. Have peace of mind. Know when you crank that thing over in the morning there on a cold December morning, you want to know that that thing is not going to give you trouble, and you're not going to be pulling off at the side of the road there with the buzzer going off, and it will be a buzzer, not beep beep. So, but knowing that you're not going to have that trouble. So, all right, guys, if you like this, please like it, share it. If you have any comments that you would want to make there, I'm all ears. I know quite a bit, but I also am very open-minded there to what other people have got to say, either criticism or suggestions or stuff like that. Just I wanted to bring you along on this journey there because it's going to be a long journey. It's not going to be overnight. I'm not one of those people that will be 90-day wonder, put it that way. I have a full-time job, work 5, sometimes 6 days a week, trucking already. And on weekends there, I also go race. There is my race car. It's a 1985 LTD wagon. So we have fun with that on weekends also. But when there's not a race and the wife doesn't need me in the garden taking care of, maintenance and stuff like that here at the house, I'm here going to be working on the truck. But now we know that the engine's got to come out, and the search is on for another 8B92 and work with that one. And this one here, I guess, with just useful parts. So knowing that, the heads are good, the turbo is good, the blower is good, mostly everything's still good with it there, except, the crank is bad. So, all right, guys, appreciate you I appreciate you tuning in, and please like and share, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.